Howdy and welcome back to the workshop. My name is Will Stelter and I'm a 23-year-old bladesmith. I live in Montana and I've been making knives for about 9 years. If you guys are watching this video, you probably know that I also make YouTube videos. And in the course of making videos and being present on social media, I get a lot of questions. Unfortunately, I'm really bad at social media and I don't do a very good job of answering very many of those questions. So today we're gonna sit down, we're gonna take some questions off of Instagram that are commonly asked or just interesting, and so I'm gonna answer them for you. I need to interrupt really quick to talk about today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community. You've got tons of classes on all sorts of stuff. Everything from cooking to learning how to build a better website, to creative marketing, to photography, to learning how to Photoshop things real good. They pretty much have options that are gonna help you learn how to do those things better, which is really, really cool. For me, the things that I'm interested in getting better at are learning how to build better videos, learning how to market and build my business better, as well as cooking. The class that I'd like to recommend to you guys is, especially if you're interested in starting your own business and building a brand, building a YouTube channel, whatever it is start your creative career, build a sharp, smart online presence by Sonia Rasula. She goes a lot of stuff that I've learned through trial and error, through talking with other friends who have built businesses, and just kind of experiencing it for myself. She explains very well how to understand analytics and how to brand your social media and all sorts of stuff. So I really enjoyed her class and I highly recommend it. So if you're interested in checking it out and giving Skillshare a try, for the first 1,000 people to click the link in my bio will get 1 month of Skillshare for free. If you're interested in learning, it's a great deal. If you don't want to learn, probably not for you. But I recommend learning. I think learning is a great time. I'm excited that Skillshare decided to sponsor today's episode. Thank you, Skillshare. With that, let's jump back on in. So we'll start off with a simple one. A lot of you guys know that I really like bench vices. I love being able to hold things. It's a great time. Many of them are marked very well, and so you can figure out the dates, and there's different sizes for all of them. They're just very neat, and I love them. My friend Matthew Harris asked me, what is my favorite vice? And it has to be currently my Reed 108. It's my main big, hefty, big old vise. It's 8-inch wide jaws, 250 pounds, 660 pounds on the stand. I've got some mild steel jaw covers on there. I did a full restoration video on this guy, and I use it pretty much every day for all sorts of stuff. Being able to hold something in a way that it doesn't move at all is an indispensable asset in your shop. I do have another larger vise, which is kind of a big deal, that I need to do a full restoration on as well, so stay tuned for a video about that. Locky Gun asked me if I struggle with creative block at all. No, I don't. I have way too many projects that I want to work on and not nearly enough time between wanting to restore old tools, wanting to learn new skills, and then wanting to pursue the designs that I have. I have sketchbooks and sketchbooks stacked full of fun designs that I really want to get into and not nearly enough time to do all of them. Cord and Create asked me Levi's or Wrangler. I like Wranglers. The Cash Peter asked me, why Montana? There's a couple of good reasons. My great-great-great-grandfather settled near Red Lodge in the late 1800s. My great-grandfather grew up here. My grandfather grew up here. I grew up in Seattle, but 2 months after I turned 18, I moved back here because, first off, Montana is just the best state. Texans like to think that Texas is the best, but I've been to Texas, and all it is hot and dirty. I love the outdoors. I was already fishing by the time I got here. I just started hunting this year. I love hiking. I love being in the mountains, and Montana is just an excellent place for that. I like being around not a whole lot of people. Traffic drives me nuts, and growing up in Seattle, that's kind of all I dealt with. I like the mentality of the people out here. There's great community, so long as you're not a dingus. So long as you're not a dingus. My friend Juan at Old Timey Tools asked me, what hobbies did I have before blacksmithing? I started working with metal when I was 13 years old, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time for other hobbies before that. That being said, I did have a bit of time to get into downhill longboard racing, which is going real fast, wearing full racing leathers and a full face helmet, and I've hurt myself doing that quite a bit, despite the fact that I was just a wee lad when I was doing it. I think there was actually a little bit of overlap between knife making and longboard racing. I also played drums, I played guitar, I played bass, and I played saxophone. I was terrible at all of them. I don't play any instruments anymore. I do want to pick up playing banjo. Salem Straub taught me the very basics of it, and well, I love listening to banjo music, so that would be a lot of fun. How far can you throw a big rock? Really far. Jeff Parlow asked, what is the best and worst part of having your own shop, and do you want to hire people? That's a great question. The best part is that I can do whatever I want within the confines of the law, which means that if I want to buy another power hammer, I can do that. And if I need to scooch some machines around, I'm not going to ruffle any feathers. It means I can also lose tools in my shop, and no one else is going to get mad because they can't find that tool. I get mad because I can't find the tool, but at least it's not on anyone else. It also means that no one else is hiding tools in my shop that I can't find. I just have a mental map of where I think everything is. Sometimes things get lost. I just found a bottle of soap that I'd been looking for about 6 months, right before we started filming this. It is nice not having employees in that if I want to take a week-long trip, I can go do that. And so long as I film it so that Isaiah has something to edit together, it's good. It's a good time. Overall, I know that I'm not going to be able to grow my business all that much without hiring more employees. That's just kind of an inevitable thing, but I'm going to hold off on it for a little while longer and enjoy the level of freedom that I have currently. Levi Cuevas asked me, hello, Will, my name is Levi and I'm 18. I'm wondering if you had any advice on starting out in life. Levi, I do have advice. My advice is pursue whatever you are interested in. Now, I know not everyone is blessed to have something that they are really passionate about and interested in, but don't necessarily go to college unless you have something that you want to study at college. Getting a degree for the sake of getting a degree doesn't really help you out anymore, but it can put you in deep debt. And that's not good. If you have an idea of something you're interested in, get an entry-level job in that field and pursue it with excellence. Don't cut corners in whatever you're working on, and have some humility, because chances are, if you're new at something, you probably don't know anything, and so don't have an ego about whatever you're working on. Though, probably the best advice that I can give for someone who's starting out in life. That applies for knife making. And if you're really passionate about working on something, you're gonna find a way to succeed at it. You can have a job for 40 hours a week and spend 40 more hours a week knife making. If that's what you're really passionate about, you're gonna make it happen. Don't be lazy and be humble, because those two things will get you very far in life. Icarus Forge asked me, what's the most encouraging and discouraging things you faced, and how did you handle it? That is a great question. I'm assuming he's talking about knife making, and the most encouraging thing that I've encountered in knife making is just how awesome the knife making community is. I've met a lot of bladesmiths who have given me a lot of advice. I've spent a lot of time in shops. Little 16-year-old snot-nosed Will futzing around in people's shops, and people were super, super gracious, very willing to share knowledge, and that's continued to this day. If I have a question about something, there's a lot of people that I can reach out to who will give me a good, solid answer. There's a caveat to that, and that is, don't abuse the graciousness and the willingness to share knowledge that bladesmiths have. If you can Google a question, Google it. If you can watch a YouTube video about it, watch the YouTube video about it. Don't waste people's time by asking bad questions that they'll know if you could Google the question. If you have a good question, people are more than happy to answer it. But if you're just asking a question for the sake of asking a question, not so hot. The most discouraging thing that I've faced has probably been years and years and hundreds, if not thousands of hours, probably thousands of hours at this point, of failures. I've messed up a lot of handles. I've messed up a lot of steel. I've dropped power hammers. But it's all part of the learning process, and taking it as a learning process, even though it is very discouraging to spend 2 weeks working on something and then snap it in half, that is not a fun feeling. But as long as you take those mistakes and you learn from them, you're still gonna be able to take that knowledge and move forward and apply it to hopefully not crack the next one. Normal Damascus layers, but spinned while warm. What's the name of the pattern? Twist. Niels Vandenberg asked me, are you ever gonna ride a Zabra? I don't know what a Zabra is, but it sounds exotic. PJ Cho asked, what's a good resource to learn what dimensions/geometry to shoot for as a beginner? Knife shows are probably the best place to get hands on real professional quality knives. You'll be able to see all of the little details in it by holding them up close. So usually there's a relatively local knife show to pretty much everywhere in the United States and pretty much everywhere in the world, at least in the Western world. And so that is my best advice, is finding someone local to you, going to a show, handling knives, speaking to actual makers about it face to face, because you'll be able to articulate your questions a lot more rapidly and get a lot more information in a shorter period of time. So I like doing face-to-face. I like knife shows. I love knife shows. Caleb Campbell asked me, has becoming a professional knife maker taken the joy out of making at all? And so I've kind of had 4 different segments in my knife making career. I had my starting out segment, which was about 16 years old when I made my first real usable knife, and I kind of got the bug and started spending, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours a week knife making up until I was 18. After that, I stopped going to school and I started knife making professionally. That was a time period where I was waiting for Alec to come to America. And so I was a professional knife maker for 7 months, working in my own shop, living off of making and selling knives. And at that point in my life, I was probably the most burnt out on making knives that I ever had been. I think there was probably a few reasons for that. For one thing, since Alec was going to show up, I didn't really want to buy or invest in tooling. And so I had a very, very bare bones shop, but I still wanted to make nice stuff. And so everything just took a really long time. And I was making like $10 an hour making nice knives. After that, I worked with Alex Steele for 2 years, and I learned how to talk to a camera, and I learned a lot about machining and blacksmithing, and I got to pursue a lot of bladesmithing things that would have taken me years to do otherwise. And during that period of time, I had a lot of fun. I was not burnt out. I wasn't doing production work. I wasn't solely relying on selling knives to make money. And so I was very much not burnt out on making knives in that time. And then 2 years ago, I started working for myself again. Alec moved back to England and I moved into my own shop. And I also have not gotten burnt out on building knives, partially because I have the release of doing YouTube videos. And so if I'm getting tired of building something, I can tear one of my machines apart and make a video about how it works, why I'm tearing it apart, all of that stuff. And that is a great joy and a huge benefit. So I'd say I still have a great amount of joy in building pretty much anything that I build, whether it's fabricating tools for the shop or making a knife to go out and sell. I still really, really enjoy it, but there have been times where I have been very tired, didn't want to make a knife, but I had to, and that was really not a fun feeling. But thankfully I can say that in the last couple of years, that hasn't really been a thing, at least not to a point where it was debilitating. I think that's our last question. I have a few things before we go. For one, don't forget to like and subscribe. I always forget to say that. Right, Isaiah? He's nodding. You can't see, but he's nodding. Another thing is that we are about 15,000 subscribers away from hitting the 250,000 subscriber mark. 250,000 people. That's 10 times the amount of people that live in the entire state of Montana. And when we get there, I'm going to be making and giving away a Damascus chef's knife. That's what I'm specialized in. I like making Damascus, I like making chef's knives, and I'm excited to get one out to one of you fine people. Go ahead and drop a comment down below if you are interested in me doing a live Q&A once every week or two. It's something I've been wanting to get into for a little while, but live streams are just harder to schedule and it's a little bit more of a hassle, but I think it'll be worth it to get to talk face to screen with you. Thank you to our patrons for supporting us, and I'll see you guys on the next one.